Today, we're going to talk about the toxins that are lurking in your kitchen. And I'm not going to be talking about the obvious toxins like the chemicals and detergents and bleaches and cleaners and bug sprays, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to talk about those hidden toxins that you might not be thinking about. All right. The first one I'm going to talk about is the toxins in non-stick cookware. You know, the stuff that actually is really convenient for frying an egg or cooking food that might normally stick. So I'm not talking about Teflon. Teflon shouldn't be having Teflon, shouldn't even be able to buy Teflon. But even those non-stick pans actually can flake off if you scratch it. Those most non-stick surfaces contain PFAS. This stands for per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. These are forever chemicals, and they're really bad for the body. They're also bad for the environment. One scratch in a nonstick surface can release 9,000 PFAS, forever chemical particles, and that's something that you can get into your food. So what's the solution to that? Rather than use a nonstick pan, use natural nonsticks. So cast iron that's properly seasoned is a great nonstick surface. Or cook with stainless steel. That's what they use in restaurants. It's a great surface. Or use a copper pan. All right. So another hidden source of toxins in your kitchen are plastic containers. You know, the ones that actually have been sold, plastic containers with a top, so convenient for leftovers, so convenient for bringing your lunch the next day to work, right? Well, here's the thing. We now know that plastic sheds microplastics and nanoplastics. These are tiny, tiny little pieces of plastics into your food. And here's another one. What about the plastic cutting board, right? So easy to clean, lightweight. Well, I can tell you that when you cut onto the plastic cutting board, you're releasing microplastics right into the raw food that you're actually cutting. And an Italian study recently showed that people with cardiovascular disease, they found 50% of those people, when they actually looked at the blockages in their blood vessels, had plastic, microplastics and nanoplastics embedded inside the damaging plaques in their blood vessels. This means that we're actually getting plastics from our food stuck into the diseased tissue in our blood vessels, the clogs for your heart, for your carotid arteries going to your brain, which is how they discovered this. Some of it comes from food. They also think some of it might come from the air that we actually breathe. Nonetheless, plastic in your kitchen is a hidden source of the toxins that are coming from microplastics. Okay, third hidden source, other sources of plastic. Think about the amount of plastic cups that you have, or plastic plates, or plastic utensils, or styrofoam. These are really kind of like the bread and butter of convenience culture in the kitchen. They're inexpensive. You go to a party, you can entertain with them. It all goes into the trash. So good in terms of a convenience, so bad when it comes to your health. All right. Now, ultra processed foods, the packaging, another source of plastics. In fact, many of these plastic packaging contain BPAs. That's bisphenol A. All right. There's 30 to 40 different kinds of these harmful, poisonous plastics. They all get shed into our food. Think about that frozen food that's got a little plastic thing that you poke with the fork and stick it into the microwave. What do you think that plastic's going to be shedding? Microplastics into your food. So again, lots of hidden toxins associated with microplastics. So what's the solution? Well, avoid packaged foods with plastic on them. All right. Just know that they're going to be laden with all these microplastics and shed them in. And rather than using plastic plates and plastic silverware, plastic cups, get paper cups, paper plates, or for utensils, swap out the plastics for wooden spoons. That might be actually a much better way to be able to avoid those hidden toxins, and better for the environment as well. Another source of hidden toxins is your kitchen sink sponge. All right. Now, this is actually kind of a crazy thing, but we're using the sponge to clean our plates, right? Well, studies have shown that sponges can contain 362 types of bacteria that, the sponge is used for the plate. It sits there wet, perfect environment for bacteria to grow. We don't wash the sponge. We actually use a sponge to wash everything else. It just sits there festering and growing like a petri dish. All right. And how many bacteria can grow? 362 types of bacteria, 46 billion bacteria per square centimeter of your sponge. All right. So what's a better choice? Well, you can actually throw out your sponge, after every use or after every couple of uses, perhaps. Not very economically efficient. All right. Expensive way to clean your dishes. Or you can actually use a brush. All right. Brushes have been studied and they've been shown to harbor less bacteria than a sponge. A sponge, like the perfect petri dish. Brushes are a little bit better, although they also grow bacteria as well. What you want to do if you use a brush is to wash after you use a brush to clean. You want to clean your brush, okay? Wash your brush after each use. Use hot water, use some soap on the brush, and that'll keep the bacteria down. All right. What about another hidden source of toxins? Well, soaps and detergents that contain fragrance. The hand soap that actually smells nice, makes your hand smells nice. It could be lavender, it could be citrus, whatever it is. It turns out that these fragrances contain phthalates. That's spelled Phthalates, phthalates. And the phthalates have been shown to disrupt our gut microbiome. They actually turn our healthy gut into an unhealthy gut. An unhealthy gut means that your inflammation goes up. It actually can damage your mood because gut bacteria talking to your brain sends cross signals. And lots of other things that your gut bacteria are doing can be disrupted by phthalates found in the scents, the fragrances found in detergents and in soaps. Okay, so by the way, where else do you find them besides soaps and detergents? You see them in air freshener. You find them in cleaning products. Those are all phthalates. So what's the solution? Go for the non-toxic. It should be labeled non-toxic, phthalate-free. Look at the ingredient label. Look for phthalate-free. No fragrance cleaning products are a much better choice, and avoid air fresheners. Another source of hidden toxins, this one might not be in your kitchen, but just outside your kitchen, is the old charred grill, right? So think about it. We're cooking on the grill. We've got to serve the dinner. We might turn off the heat and we go away. Well, guess what? All that char just stays on there until the next time. It turns out that char on the grill, on the grate, actually contains polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons and heterocyclic amines. All right. Don't worry about spelling all those things, remembering all those things. Those are carcinogens. All right. Those carcinogens will get onto the food the next time you're cooking on it, unless you clean those grates. I know it's really hard to clean the grates each time the way that you want to. So what's the solution? The solution is to deliberately clean. Remember to clean your grill after every single use. All right. And before each use, really scrub it clean. All right. Make sure you rinse it off and get rid of all those char fragments that are carcinogens. All right. One last hidden source of toxins is old expired food, right? Now, nobody likes to waste food. We all have leftovers. We keep them in the fridge. Many of us don't purge our refrigerator on a regular basis. So the back of the fridge, you wind up having a lot of food that's been sitting there a long time. Or you actually have food that's been expired and you haven't checked the date. All right, here's the thing. When you have old food, bacteria can grow in it. When you have expired food, expiration dates are talking about the quality of the food, but eventually they can actually grow bacteria as well. Bacteria like E. coli, Salmonella, Listeria. These are the bacteria that cause food poisoning. Now, why do bacteria cause food poisoning? Well, the bacteria release toxins into your food. That's what food poisoning is. You're actually being poisoned by the toxins released by the bacteria that you don't want to be growing in there. Okay. We're not talking about fermentation. We're actually talking about the growth of harmful pathogenic disease-causing bacteria. They release endotoxins and other types of toxins that poison our system. How do we know it poisons our system? Well, guess what? It causes nausea, vomiting, cramping, diarrhea. It can fever, sweating. It can even affect your brain and make you confused. All right. And with all that diarrhea, you get dehydrated. Okay, this is why you want to actually be very careful that you're not actually keeping old, moldy foods, expired foods, and you're eating fresh. And so don't cook so much. Cook for a day or two. You don't want to actually keep the food around for too long so that bacteria will release toxins into your food.
Today, I'm going to talk about the five biggest mistakes you can make if you're trying to lose weight using intermittent fasting. The first mistake is midnight snacking. Now, before we can understand why midnight snacking is such a big mistake, I need to actually give you a little more background information about intermittent fasting. Are you ready? Let's dive in. So, what is intermittent fasting? Well, here's a myth I want to bust right off the bat. Intermittent fasting is not some new complicated trend that only appeared a few years ago. In fact, intermittent fasting is one of the most natural thing your body already does every single day, your entire life. Think about it. Fasting means that you're not eating. And when you're sleeping at night, you're naturally not eating. So you're fasting for 7 or 8 or maybe even 10 hours without even trying. All right. And this is actually really important because your metabolism performs in a very specific way when you are actually fasting. All right. And I'm going to talk about that in just a few minutes. In fact, fasting overnight is where the word breakfast comes from, right? You can eat breakfast, you are breaking your fast. You're literally breaking your overnight fast. So, intermittent fasting is something that we do naturally, but if you want to actually use it for health, to lose weight, to optimize your metabolism, to fight harmful body fat and get rid of excess body fat, the way you do this is by extending your natural fasting period. All right. So, whatever you're doing during sleeping, you extend it on both sides of the equation, kind of like taking a bookends of a bookshelf and just stretching them out and adding a few more books in between there. All right. And the way to do this is actually to work on your last meal of the day, which is dinner, and your first meal of the morning of the next day. All right. The longer the gap between the meals, it gives your body more time, the bigger opportunity to burn down its fuel, because that's actually what happens during fasting. All right. It taps into your body fat. So while you're sleeping and fasting, you're actually burning down fat. Pretty amazing, right? You're sleeping and burning down fat. You're not exercising. That's actually how our body is hardwired. All right. So when you're fasting, it not only burns down fat, it also resets your metabolism. Part of this is the fact that when your insulin levels are low, meaning that you're not eating, so insulin level naturally goes back down. Insulin is the hormone that your pancreas produces to be able to draw energy from our food into your cells. When you're not eating, insulin levels naturally go down, and that over time, that actually switches your metabolism into a gear, kind of like in a race car. You switch gears from fuel storing mode, which is what insulin actually does, helps you store fuel, into fuel burning mode. So literally you are switching gears, you're switching your metabolism from storing energy to burning down energy when you are actually sleeping. And the great thing is, by the way, intermittent fasting isn't a one size fits all approach. There's actually no strict rules about how long you have to fast to get the benefit. Just sleeping. Okay. And you want to get good deep sleep because that's the other thing is that the kind of metabolism fat burning, all right, the optimizing your metabolism, that actually happens when you get good deep quality of sleep. So, waking up every few hours, whether it's going to the bathroom, whether it's checking your email, insomnia, that doesn't count. You want to get really, really good deep sleep, which is why we talk about sleep being so important. All right. But first, I want to talk a little bit about how to actually extend your natural fasting period. Now, some people might want to naturally extend their overnight fasting period by skipping breakfast, right? And that's an easy way to go from, let's say, 8 hours of fasting to being able to, let's say you're sleeping 8 hours, 8 hours of fasting, to be able to extend it a little bit further. If you wait an hour after you get up before you eat breakfast, you've just gained an extra hour of fat burning. All right. Now, here is where the key for not eating a midnight snack comes in. All right. When you eat dinner, All right, you're eating food, your insulin rises, your body is still, from all day long, still in fuel storing mode. Okay, your metabolism isn't able to burn fat. It is focused on storing all that energy. Right now, when you're done eating, if you're done eating, then your insulin levels come down. Then your body's going to say, "Oh, I guess we're done storing fuel. Let's switch gears to fat burning mode." So pretty much happens once your insulin levels go down after eating a meal. All right. Now, the fact of the matter is that if you are eating a midnight snack, one of the things that you've actually done is you've actually interrupted your fasting period. Because let's say you eat dinner at 7 o'clock and you get done at 8 o'clock. All right. Some of you may have heard me talk about this before. You put your dishes away. Now your body is actually saying, all right, I guess we're done storing fuel. Insulin levels come down. You get ready for bedtime, and now you're into fasting mode. All right. And you're going to take that all the way through the evening. So let's say that you go to bed at 11 o'clock and you sleep until 7. That's 8 hours. Let's say you get good quality sleep. All right. You're going to get 8 hours of fasting from your sleeping time. But if you actually don't eat after you put your dishes away, then you're going to gain those extra 3 hours from 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock, if 11 o'clock is the time you go to bed. I know you might go to bed later or you might go to bed earlier, but you get the point. Is that once you put your dishes away, if you don't eat anything, your fasting period starts to rev up right away because the insulin levels will actually come down. But if you actually have a midnight snack, guess what you do? You're revving your metabolism back up into fuel storing mode. So you're not going to be able to burn fat. And that cuts in to the useful period of fat burning that your sleeping is actually going to get you. So this is why midnight snacking, late night snacking is something that actually is one of the biggest mistakes you can do if you are actually trying to do intermittent fasting. All right. So that's one of the things that is a big mistake. A lot of us actually have this urge for just one more bite of something. And by the way, maybe it's something not particularly healthy at night. Some chips, a slice of cake, even something healthy like a slice of fruit. This little snack will sabotage your full fasting window that you could actually get. All right. Put your body back into fuel storing mode and delays the time where you begin to burn fat. So throwing snacks into your body late at night, midnight snacks, give it more fuel when it's trying to wind down for the day. All right. So don't do that. Now, here's a solution. All right. No eating after you put your dishes in the sink. That's my recommendation. Let's again walk through this. You are actually eating dinner at 7 o'clock. You're done after an hour. Let's say it's 8 o'clock. You put your dishes in the sink. All right. Now you are done eating for the day. So you're actually telling your body's going to sense this. No more food's coming in. It's time, insulin's going to come down. It's time to switch gears into fat burning mode. And now, when you go to bed, let's say it's at 11 o'clock at night, you are actually going to be in fat burning mode, all right, and during intermittent fasting mode, and you're going to carry that all the way through for your 8 hours of sleep until the morning. And any of you want to get a little extra out of it, hey, skip breakfast or eat breakfast a little bit later. Give yourself an extra hour. And so think about it. 8 o'clock, dishes in the sink, no more food. Till 11, and 11 o'clock, you go to bed. That's 3 hours. Now you're going to sleep for 8 hours. 3 plus 8, that is 11 hours. Now delay breakfast for an hour. That's 11. 3 plus 8 is 11, plus one more hour. That's 12 hours. And that's how you actually take 12 out of the 24 hours of your day to be in metabolic intermittent fasting, fat burning mode. So don't eat midnight snack. That is actually a mistake. By the way, the other thing that actually happens, you got to realize while you're intermittently fasting, other things are happening. Your gut microbiome, your healthy gut bacteria, 39 trillion bacteria that are involved with lowering inflammation, boosting immunity, and helping to communicate for better brain function. During sleeping and fasting, those systems, your immune system, your gut health, are also resetting. So you're getting a fresh system for the next day. It's kind of like, cleaning up after the day. All right. And you're going to get ready for the next day, clean up everything like at a restaurant. After the restaurant closes, no more food, right? The kitchen staff is going to wipe everything spick and span, ready for the next day. That happens in your gut, that happens with your immune system. And by the way, an extra little bonus is that while you are sleeping and fasting, other things are actually happening. There's something called autophagy. Autophagy sounds like a complicated word, and it's actually a scientific word that basically says that your body is cleaning up old dead cells. You know, the cells that are not doing the same job that they used to, they need to be cleaned out and replaced. Autophagy is a cleaning up, kind of the spring cleaning that occurs while you are fasting as well. So Mother Nature has actually designed our bodies in a really clever way. When we are sleeping, we're actually quite active. We're cleaning up our dead cells. We're also draining any toxins out of our brain through the sewer system called the lymphatic system. I made another video about this if you want to check it out. It's actually burning down extra fuel, burning down extra harmful body fat. It's resetting our gut. It's actually helping our immune system reboot. So sleeping is really important. Fasting at night and not eating a midnight snack is something that you can really do that's important for your health. All right. So that is one of the things that I want you to remember. Mistake number 2, when you're trying to lose weight by intermittent fasting, all right, eating too much at a meal. Now, so here's how it goes. You're intermittently fasting. All right. So you're extending the time that you're not eating. So naturally, you're going to be hungry when it is time to eat. And it might be tempting to think, well, if I'm only eating during certain windows, I'm just going to eat as much as I want during those times. Wrong. Absolutely not. You do not want to overload your calories during the eating time. All right. So your portion control is actually really important. We're going to talk about portion control in a second. But remember, food is our fuel. That fuel gets stored into our cells, and it gets stored into our muscle. It gets stored into our body fat. And our body fat, by the way, our fat cells are our fuel tanks. So when you're eating calories, which is just the name that we call the unit of energy that comes from our food, it gets stored in our body fat. When we're eating, we're loading up our fuel, just like putting gasoline into a car, filling up the fuel tank. And the more you eat, the more fuel you have, which means you got more to burn off. So if you want intermittent fasting to be working for you, you do not want to overload when you're eating. You don't want to build up more fat, more fuel tanks than you're going to burn. That doesn't move you towards weight loss. It doesn't move you towards health. In fact, it's going to cause weight gain. And when too much fat builds up, especially the harmful body fat called visceral fat, then you're going to actually get inflammation because big masses of fat are highly inflammatory. All right. So what do you do? What's a way to actually control the amount that you eat? I call that portion control. And the way to do this is to take it really naturally. Don't weigh your food. All right. I like to use sort of this Asian philosophy called hara hachi bunmi. It's a Confucian saying translated into Japanese that basically means stop eating when you're 80% full. Now, you might say, how do I know when I'm 80% full? Well, actually, your body will tell you. And a good trick to actually learn is that when you eat and you feel satisfied that you have had something to eat, you're probably 80% full. By the time you feel full, you're stuffed. All right. So you don't want to be full. You want to be satisfied. And the way to do this is to be more in touch with your body. And, basically that's super important for health is to be in touch, live in the presence of your body and feel how your body is responding to what you're doing to it in the environment it's in. Now, this whole idea of Hara Hachi Banmi became popularized because in Okinawa, which is an island in Japan, this is one of the blue zones around the world. It's a place where people live long and live well at the same time, right? That's actually what we want to do. We want to be vibrant. We want to have a lot of vitality. We want to live a long time. That's in Okinawa, and they actually practice Hara Hachi Banmi, all right? And they do it every single day, and it's very natural for them. They also eat mostly a plant-based diet. Most of them are vegetarians, and they exercise, and they've got good social structure. But here we're actually talking about the idea of not eating too much. So when you're eating, if you eat slowly and savor your food, chew your food, and if you eat with other people and you have meaningful conversation, you're not going to be eating too quickly. All right. Then your stomach is going to get filled up, and your stomach is going to know when you're actually 80% full. It'll signal to your brain, hey, you know what? We got a lot of food here. We're getting filled up.
Hey there. Have you heard of intermittent fasting? I'm sure you have. It's not what you eat, but it's about when you eat. And I've got a simple guide to help you get started with intermittent fasting. If you're looking for an easy way to boost your energy and improve your health, and maybe shed a few pounds along the way, this could be the perfect solution for you. In my guide, I'm going to show you how fasting helps your body burn fat and also repair itself. It's an easy thing that you can do effortlessly every single day. Plus, I'll give you tips on how to succeed with intermittent fasting. And I'll tell you the science behind why this works. Just click the link below to grab your free copy, or scan the QR code on the screen right now. Now, let's get back to the video.
And that's when you can actually feel satisfied and stop eating. All right. You don't eat to clean your plate. You don't eat to feel your belly bulging full. Now, we've all been through this. Have you ever been to a family holiday like American Thanksgiving, right? Think about it. You're starving all day. You go to, whether it's at your house or somebody else's house or a gathering, any holiday gathering that's known for delicious food and lots of people. When you get there, you associate the event, right? The holiday with eating a lot of great food. So you take a plate, you pile the food on, and you eat it, and you're usually very excited. Maybe you didn't eat earlier in the day, so you're really hungry and eating a lot and eating quickly. And then what do? You go back and take more, all right? And when you take more, you eat one more bite, and you've been there, I've been there. All of a sudden, you kind of regret the fact that you took so much food on your plate for seconds. Like one more bite, and you go, oh man, that's when I'm way too full now. All right. So don't fill up your plate. Eat slowly. Pay attention to when you feel satisfied. All right. This is a mental thing. You got to pay attention to how you're feeling. All right. Don't pay attention to the plate. Eat more slowly. Pay attention to how you feel when you're eating. Take smaller bites. Chew it. Savor it. All right. Now, many countries around the world that have delicious food, like the Mediterranean, they savor their food. They enjoy every single bite of it. And in fact, if you look at the Mediterranean, the traditional Mediterranean diet, the cuisine, and also the patterns of people who are there, the families, when they're eating, they're not talking about their problems of the day. They're talking about the deliciousness of the food. So they're also being mindful and appreciating the food. They're grateful for the food that they're eating. So this is also, by the way, the savoring of the food, eating slowly and feeling satisfied. This is why you should always eat the tastiest food you can find. Some people call it, being a foodie. I don't think you need to be, like a fanatic about good food all the time. But every one of us have our own preferences for what tastes really, really great. All right. And you should look for that for every single meal. Now, the other little tip for, eating to the point that, you're 80% full is between bites. Don't just keep shoveling food in your mouth. Between bites, ask yourself, am I still hungry, or I'm just eating because there's food in front of me? At some point, you're going to feel like, you know what? I'm pretty satisfied. I can actually put my fork down and I'm good. And you should try doing that sometimes. You put your fork down, it's not in your hand. That's actually a good prompt for you to maybe push back a little bit and you can actually stop eating. All right. A lot of times we don't realize when we are actually consuming calories to the point where we have overeaten. So don't clean your plate. Be mindful. Listen to your body when you're actually satisfied and not when you're actually feeling actually full. All right. Now, portion size is another issue. Okay. And I'm going to tell you, like, whether someone at a restaurant serves you a big plate of food or whether you serve yourself from, like a plate that's being shared around the table. I can tell you there's a phenomenon that's I call the all you can eat phenomenon, right? And this is basically where there's no limit, got a lot of options. You kind of feel like you should pile up your plate and you should eat more. Nothing could be further from the truth. If you've ever been to a buffet at a casino or anywhere where they actually have big, big piles of buffet food, More food does not give you more satisfaction. This has been studied, and it certainly doesn't give you more health. So here's what you do. You should actually take a smaller, if you're at a buffet, all right, take a smaller plate. I know they serve big plates. Actually, some smart buffets actually only give you small plates, so you're not going to eat as much food. But that's the trick. Take the smaller plate. Take the dessert plate. Take the bread plate for if you have a choice, and then take little bits of food to put on it. It sounds simple, but it really works. And studies have shown that when you eat from a smaller plate, you're likely to eat less, but still feel satisfied. All right. Now, it's a little bit of a brain trick because when the brain sees a big plate, a full plate, it wants to eat it all. But if the brain sees a smaller plate being full, it actually thinks that you're going to get more food than you actually are. All right. And then finally, I got to tell you about not overeating. You've got to quit the clean plate club. That's a big mistake if you're trying to optimize your intermittent fasting and you feel like you've got to clean your plate. I know our moms all told us, and maybe the lunch lady in grade school told us, you got to clean the plate. All right. Don't waste food. All right. You got to know something. The Clean Plate Club is an outdated concept. It was developed during World War One, and it was to encourage people not to take too much food, not to add a ton of food and eat it all. It was just sort of whatever you're taking, don't take too much. And if you're going to take whatever you're going to take, do make sure you're eating it so there's enough food for everyone. All right. So somehow, after the wars, and we had more abundance of food, that Clean Plate Club got translated into pile up your plate and finish it all. Don't worry. Take less. Don't finish it all. When you're feeling satisfied, even if there's some food left over, it's okay. Don't finish it. All right. And next time, just take a little bit less. Here's another thing. You can kind of judge yourself on this. If you are eating and you kind of realize that after you eat on a regular basis, you're feeling sluggish, you're feeling a little bloated, you're feeling uncomfortably full, that is a good sign that you're eating too much. All right. And you got to go back and say, am I cleaning the plate? Am I getting seconds? Never take seconds. All right. Do you have this all you can eat mindset? Don't do it. All right. Switch your mindset to eating until you're satisfied, 80% full, then step away, step back. All right. That's one way that you're actually not going to overload your calories when you're eating and then make intermittent fasting less effective because intermittent fasting is going to be burning down that extra body fat. But guess what? When you're eating, if you overload, now you got a problem because now you're like sort of one step forward and then overeating takes you two steps back. You got so much more body fat to burn down, too much more fuel to burn down. All right. Mistake number 3, let's talk about this, eating ultra processed foods. Now, everybody knows by now that ultra processed foods are not good for your health. And I'm not going to go into every single reason that it's not good for your health, but if you're going to actually go to the effort of optimizing your intermittent fasting, don't set yourself back by eating junky food, junky ultra processed foods. Listen, you know what I'm talking about. Chips, candies, snacks in a bag from a factory, anything that's fluorescent colored, sugary, artificially spiced, factory made cakes and cookies, frozen foods that you have to like toss in the microwave to nuke and heat up. Look, these are things that most of us grew up as part of our daily diet. Like I'm the same way as you. I grew up that way as well. But those are actually all ultra processed foods, and they're not good for you. In fact, they set you back if you're trying to intermittently fast. And I got to also tell you, there are now companies that are producing so-called healthy ultra processed foods. But here's the trick. Just go ahead and look at the ingredient label. And if you look at the ingredient list on the side of a box or a bag or a can or a jar, and you see a bunch of words, ingredients that sound like they belong in a chemistry lab, that's your red flag that this is probably an ultra processed food. You don't need to be a scientist to know what all these chemicals do to you. You should assume that they're probably not good for your body. All right. Now, I got to tell you why these foods are such a problem. For one thing, it's been shown that ultra processed foods, eating ultra processed foods, all right, disrupts your gut microbiome. Remember, the gut microbiome are the healthy 39 trillion bacteria that normally live in our gut. inside our colon. All right, that's the lower part of our gut. They live in an area of the colon called the cecum, cecum. It's right by the appendix. These healthy bacteria do us a world of good. They really help our health. They lower inflammation. They improve our immunity. They streamline our metabolism. They help us heal faster from the inside out. They text message our brain to keep us in a good mood. All right. And they make us insulin sensitive. All right. When you eat ultra processed foods, you're eating all these chemicals, the science lab, the chemistry lab we talked about, and these can actually damage your gut bacteria. You damage those bacteria that are responsible for lowering inflammation in your body, what's going to happen? Inflammation is going to go up. That is not what you want if you want to actually be healthy. And it's also not going to help you because damaging your gut microbiome also damages your metabolism, which makes it hard in your insulin sensitivity, glucose sensitivity, and now you're actually not going to be able to burn body fat the same way when you're intermittently fasting as well. All right. So here's a little tidbit you need to know. How do you know when you've got good gut health? Well, there's a lot of ways. Most of us who are walking around normally feeling okay in our gut, and then sometimes you feel like, oh man, I feel crappy, I feel gassy. You might have some diarrhea or loose stools, or you might be constipated and you just feel bloated. All right. Those are all signs. Those are not just general signs. Now we know they're probably signals, like signal flares, distress flares that your gut's sending saying, gut microbiome is not doing so well. Well, as a researcher, I can tell you we're beginning to actually figure out ways to tell whether or not your gut microbiome is in good shape or not. And a simple way is seeing if your gut bacteria are diverse. What does that mean, diverse gut bacteria? Well, you got a lot of different species of bacteria. So think about your gut microbiome as an ecosystem, a neighborhood with a lot of different types of bacteria. And as you know, a good, healthy ecosystem's got a lot of different types of organisms in it, like a neighborhood. A good, healthy neighborhood is usually pretty diverse, not the same people all the time. You've got people of different, stripes all working together. It's a much richer, healthier neighborhood to have diversity. And good, healthy gut microbiome is very, very diverse. Now, studies have shown that when you eat ultra processed foods, you know what happens? You decrease the gut diversity. In fact, one study showed that you can decrease gut diversity by eating ultra processed foods by up to 40%. That's huge. All right. And when you decrease that diversity, you're decreasing the functionality, the benefits that you get from good gut health as well. All right. So that's why I'm actually saying that the diversity of the gut is crucial. Eating ultra processed foods actually can wreck the diversity. And what do you end up with? You end up with increased inflammation. You end up with less optimal metabolism. Glucose sensitivity is not going to be quite so good. You're going to have weight gain and all the problems that come with all these issues, with inflammation as one of the root causes of many chronic diseases. So my pro tip to you, if you are trying to get the most out of intermittent fasting, is swap out the ultra processed foods, swap in foods that are made with fresh plant-based whole foods. All right. And along with that tip is learn how to cook. All right. Cook using fresh ingredients so you know every element that you're actually putting into your body. Now, I know people who like to cook, they're like, yeah, that's great. I would love to do that. I do that all the time. All right, myself. On the other hand, some people go, cooking's not my thing. I don't know how to cook. I don't know how to do it. Well, look, I can tell you, if you don't know how to cook, you probably aren't really tuned up to shopping. I'm going to make a video on that at some point, how to cook and how to shop in healthy ways. But one of the things you want to be able to do is to just pick an ingredient that you like to eat. Let's say it's tomatoes. Then go on to YouTube and look up a recipe. Just put tomatoes in recipe. If you want to make it simple or quick, put simple and quick. Hit search and watch a video, and someone will actually show you how to do it. Like, somebody who really knows what they're doing. That's a way that we can actually teach each other and learn. And then you're actually going to be eating whole, fresh foods, and you're not going to be so tempted towards eating these ultra processed foods. I'm bringing up tomatoes because I'm thinking about, something that you might want to have, like salsa. All right. Why get it out of a jar or a can when you can actually make it yourself. All right. Think about that. All right. Or guacamole. All right. So make sure you know what you're eating that's good for your health. That is actually going to have impact on how well your intermittent fasting goes. So if you're trying to get the most out of intermittent fasting, don't eat ultra processed foods. All right. Mistake number 4. What do you think that is? It is drinking soda. You know, colas, other types of sodas, the so-called fruit flavored sodas. And this is even regular soda or even diet soda. All right. Now, I'm not gonna name any brands, but you know exactly which ones that I'm talking about. We all grew up drinking sodas. Hot day, you want to slake your thirst. Who doesn't want a soda? But here's the thing. Soda is the one beverage that can stall the progress you're making with intermittent fasting. Now, why is that? It's because soda, regular soda, is packed with calories. You can down a 12-ounce can of soda pretty quickly, right? On a hot day, slake your thirst. Guess what? One 12-ounce can of soda has up to 9 teaspoons of sugar. That is a huge amount of sugar. Imagine I gave you a glass, an empty glass, and I put 9 teaspoons of sugar and told you just go ahead and eat that. That's all calories. And we call them empty calories because, if you actually ate sugar from a fruit, for example, yeah, you'd have some sugar. It wouldn't be 9 teaspoons full, but you're also going to get all these other valuable bioactives from whole foods. You're going to get the dietary fiber. You're going to get the polyphenols. All those things actually help your health, all right, in spite of the sugar. And we need some sugar anyway, but for a soda, it's all sugar. You're basically like throwing it down into your system. All of a sudden, you are, that intermittent fasting, taking one step forward, all right, you're taking 2 or 3 steps backwards with a whole soda, so don't do it. All right. Now, what the issue with even worse is this idea like, well, then I guess I'll have diet soda because it doesn't have those calories. Okay, it's true, it doesn't have the calories. And a lot of people think that switching to diet soda is going to solve that problem. But diet soda is also sweet. And the reason it's sweet is that it's made with artificial sweeteners, all right? And research has now shown that even though those artificial sweeteners don't have calories, you know what they do? They don't get absorbed in your body. They trickle down into your gut. And guess what they do to your gut microbiome? They can destroy and harm your gut microbiome. That's really bad, all right? In fact, one study showed that artificial sweeteners, the kind that you'd find in a soda, can lead to a 50% reduction in the diversity of your gut microbiome. 50, all right? That's a huge amount. That's not what you want to do with artificial sweeteners, all right? And I don't care if that's an artificial sweetener for your soda, in a diet soda, or even in your coffee. Don't do it, all right? Okay, so when your gut microbiome's out of balance, again, you're going to be losing your ability to lower inflammation. So inflammation goes up, not good for your health, and your metabolism is going to be derailed, and now you're going to gain weight. All right, and that's actually setting you back from what the goal of intermittent fasting is. Again, this video is about what are the mistakes that are made when people actually want to get the most out of intermittent fasting. All right, now I want to give you kind of a recommendation for a substitute if you don't want to drink a soda, all right? And I call it the Holy Trinity. I read about this in my book, Eat to Beat Your Diet, all right? The Holy Trinity of beverages are, get ready for it, water, tea, and coffee, all right? Water, tea, and coffee are the Holy Trinity of beverages because they all can help you burn excess body fat, all right? All of them. Water, even water, actually, when you drink water, actually prevents you from overeating. It turns on fat burning. Tea has catechins, polyphenols that turn on fat burning and improve your gut health, which helps to burn fat. Coffee, same deal. Chlorogenic acid in coffee can help you burn body fat as well. The key with these beverages, water, tea, and coffee, all right, is not to add sweeteners, not sugar, and definitely not artificial sweeteners. All right. And a little tip for you. This is my pro tip. Don't add dairy milk or cream, dairy cream. All right. And the reason is the fat in dairy cream or dairy milk, all right, dairy products will actually form little tiny bubbles, all right, around those polyphenols in tea or in coffee. And when you drink it, those little bubbles will just kind of like run down your gut and you won't absorb all of them. So you'll miss out on some of those useful polyphenols. You'll still get some, but you'll miss out on a lot of it. All right. So what do you swap out for dairy milk? Guess what? Nut milks, almond milk, or oat milk, totally fine. Soy milk, also fine, does not form those soap bubbles that dairy does. All right. Okay. So Holy Trinity Beverage, remember that. That's great for helping you optimize intermittent fasting. All right, what's the fifth mistake that I want to talk to you about today? And that is not being physically active. All right. The couch potato, the sedentary lifestyle, all those things that we're not supposed to do. Well, listen, movement, exercise, being physically active helps you burn calories. And remember, intermittent fasting is burning down extra body fat. So if you're trying to get the most out of intermittent fasting, it's going to be burning down fat. You want to actually help the body burn down fat by being active. You're actually going to be boosting metabolism, and you're going to be aiding the intermittent fasting during the day when you're awake. Because don't forget, if you're sleeping when you're intermittent fasting, you're burning down while you're not moving. When during the day, move it so you're actually not going to be building up so much body fat. The other thing about exercise is that it improves your insulin sensitivity, so your metabolism is just more efficient. And exercise improves your circulation, your blood vessels. Okay, the blood going through your blood vessels makes your blood vessels, your vasculature, and the endothelial cells, that's the cells lining blood vessels, a lot healthier. And those blood vessels, by the way, are delivering not only oxygen and nutrients to all of your organs, but they're also delivering the hormones needed for a healthy metabolism as well. Now, here's the thing. I'm not telling you got to join a gym. You don't have to hire a trainer. You don't have to buy expensive exercise or workout equipment. You can just stay physically active by doing something simple, like taking a 30-minute walk after dinner. Most people can do that, all right? I don't care who you are. You can usually afford to take 30 minutes out of your day. But you can also find, other ways to add movement into your day. Choose the stairs instead of the elevator, or park a little bit further away from your office or the store when you go to the grocery store. The clinical research backs us up that even moderate physical activity like walking can lower your risk of developing chronic diseases. That lowers inflammation, burns down extra harmful body fat, visceral fat. A study in the Lancet, by the way, that's the very prestigious medical journal, found that walking briskly for just 30 minutes a day can reduce your risk of heart disease by 35%. Simple, right? You don't need statins. You don't need all this other stuff. Walking is actually a simple solution for that. Another study looking at preventative medicine found that people who are active lower the risk of developing metabolic syndrome, which is prediabetes, by 30%. So walking, being active is really the way to go. And if you're an older person or maybe somebody who is not regularly physically active, walking is a great way to start. I call walking low impact, high reward. Besides walking, you could try swimming, biking, even dancing. Aim for 30 minutes a day of walking and gradually build up to an hour. And whatever you do, don't spend all day sitting around. Sitting is the new smoking, all right? Small bursts of activity, standing up, walking around, stretching, doing a quick set of squats, all those things can make a difference. Hi there. If you enjoyed watching this video, I know you'll love the next one. Stay here and check it out, and I'll see you there.